All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for National Engineers Week orientation. We may get a couple new faces joining us as we get started, but really excited to see over 100 of you with us this morning to learn more about volunteering for National Engineers Week. This is a big outreach effort sponsored by ACEC, but certainly not possible without our many partners at NDOT, Citizens Energy, and other partners at our state agencies. So thank you so much for being with us today and here to learn more about the work that we're doing through ACEC, through our K-12 outreach efforts, and as certainly what we're here to talk about for EWeek and the process to sign up for classrooms. And then at the conclusion of orientation today, we will be sure to give everybody a chance to access those classrooms and sign up. So with that, I'm really excited to kick us off and introduce Ken Olson, who has been a rock star chair of our K-12 Education Committee. I really have loved his leadership this year, and we've made some great gains. So Ken, if you wouldn't mind getting us started, please.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. I like the rock star reference. I didn't plan any karaoke songs or anything for the presentation, but that would spice it up a bit. But so National Engineers Week, this is founded in 1951. And EWeek, what we call it, is dedicated to ensuring diverse, well-educated future engineering workforce. This week is intended to increase the understanding and interest in engineering and technology careers. This is during President's Day week. Did a little research. This is dedicated to Washington's birthday, which he may be one of the country's first engineers. As his work as a surveyor. So that's kind of the reason for the week it's in. ACEC Indiana celebrates EWeek with the classroom visits, and that's what we're here today to talk about. You can find more resources, and we'll kind of get into the presentation and then kind of the hands-on activity. But a lot of resources and activities can be found at Discover E. And we've kind of leading up to this, we've got a lot of good feedback from teachers in past years that the hands-on activities and the more engaging you are in your presentation has been well received by the students. So just some things to consider. So a little bit of feedback on our goals and kind of where we are today and like how we got here. We've set some goals of 200 classrooms. We've exceeded, you can kind of see last year where we were at, 82 schools. So we're continuing to build on some of the outreach efforts that we've been making. We had a pretty lofty goal this year to hit all 92 counties. That's going to be pretty tough, but we hit 39, so we're covering nearly half the state. So that's our intent, is to get as much exposure throughout the entire state as we can. With these classrooms added up, it could be well over 7,000 students we as a group are reaching. So I think that's awesome. And then our volunteer goal, over 200. I believe the sign up is closed, but Liz, I think if we get more volunteers, we would take them. And then we've really wanted to, as a committee, we've really tried to see where to focus the audience, would be whether it's elementary, middle, or high school. And we're at about 75% or 70% of the middle and high school. So kind of seeing where we make the most impact. I know there may be some of you on the call as well, but just thank you to everybody on the K through 12 Education Committee. I know the other volunteers, you'll see a lot of the hard work that's been done by that group. A lot of time has been spent on teacher outreach, trying to get as many different schools through all corners of the state. There's a lot of updates that have been made to the PowerPoints and activity books, and also just continuing to improve the volunteer experience overall. And just want to note too that, although this is, a couple weeks out, we definitely want to hear from everybody after their presentations, because everybody's feedback is well received by the education committee to continue to improve what we all do. So any kind of ideas or, lessons learned, whether positive or negative, is always helpful. So as you'll see, in the presentations, EWeek is an opportunity to showcase, engineering as a career. And this is always kind of how, some of you all are interested and, through curiosity, creativity, and teamwork, and helping others. So just be aware that, the impact you have, a lot of students are not exposed to engineering. And, they may not know an engineer in their life. They may not, even in some of their schools, engineering isn't always, talked about as we're understanding. So this could be one of their first introductions. So the impact you make could be huge. So also like to suggest personalizing your experience. I like to every year when I do the presentation, put in some projects that are, really inspired you or that you really were appreciative to be a part of. I think that goes a long way to show the enthusiasm for the industry, and to get excited about, the work we all do. And just really kind of sharing how you make a difference. So although, we're talking about 1 week out of the year, there's 51 other weeks as well to get involved. So Liz has here a screenshot. If you get to the ACEC Indiana website, on the screen here, there's opportunities throughout the entire year. So if you take away, from this week that, hey, that was pretty fun to go do something like that, there's events throughout the entire year. So I wanted to put a plug out for that. But I think there's different, if this week doesn't work for you, or maybe a school that didn't get a chance to sign up this week, there may be more opportunities throughout the rest of the year. So this is just a good outreach for all that. Also on the site, you'll see some ACEC Indiana scholarship promotions. Always a good way to kind of to get people more involved in that. And then, yeah, this is just an opportunity to, continue the outreach for the engineering profession as a whole. So just thank you all for your volunteering and your time. I know this orientation and then the prep work and then, going to the presentations and then giving your time for feedback is well appreciated. So thank you all.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ken, for kicking us off there. And, I can't reiterate enough the importance of getting in front of students. This effort is part of a whole for ACEC Indiana's workforce development, part of our strategic plan. We enacted that strategic plan in 2022, and that resulted in, division of committees and looking at this issue from not only just connections with workforce and higher ed and our immediate workforce need, but how do we get to young kids sooner, and the creation of the K-12 committee and the hiring of my job, my full-time staff role. So this effort helps the whole, and we're really so glad to see so many of you on the call today. If you like Ken said, if you want to get involved in more of what ACEC is doing in the workforce development space, please reach out to me anytime, whether you're serving on a committee or not. If you want to learn more about committee service, happy to plug you in there. We will do a committee service outreach call here in the next couple of months. Just an interest webinar if anyone's interested in learning more about community service and getting more involved that way. But lots of ways to get engaged at ACEC, and really excited to see you all here for EWeek. So with that, we'll get into kind of the technical items and show you first a showcase of just some of the resources that you can expect to see. About half the people signed up to volunteer this year are new to EWeek and have never done it before. So pardon me by taking just a couple of minutes to show you some of the materials that you'll have available to you as a volunteer, and then we'll do a detailed walkthrough of all the logistics of how you sign up for classrooms and some of the timing associated with that. And then at the very end, we'll get the classroom links posted. We will do that through through Sign Up Genius. And of course, Shelby is on the call with us from staff. Thanks, Shelby, for helping us out today. If you do have questions, you can drop those in the chat as I go, and she'll get to those. But also we can come off mute at the end and tend to any questions there as well. So with that, I'll dive into the resources part, and you've kind of seen a tasting of that through this slide deck. This is what young students will see, our elementary age students. A slide deck that mirrors this one with like the light blue coloring and the clouds, and kind of a younger look and feel to those materials. We have completely redesigned since last year our activity book. So now it is a standalone item. There's one version of that. And it highlights all of the different civil engineering occupations. We touch on transportation engineering in that, stormwater and water resourcing engineering. We talk about survey and geotech, construction inspection. There's all kinds of occupations highlighted in this activity book now with a little call out to that. So the one thing I would say about it is that it is probably a reading age and up. So think, a very, very advanced second or third grader, and upwards of that for the elementary age, or, a volunteer needing to kind of walk a student through the activity, since there is a little more words in the activity book this time. But we are excited that it is a standalone product and you can use that as its own item. You don't have to use it with the slides, unlike last year. So excited to have made that update for you all. Just a preview of what those look like. Again, colorful, light, bright, the same, color palette throughout the slides. We're talking about, at a very basic level, what civil engineers do. Try to simplify that message and make it resonate with young students and kids. A set of bright colors, pictures to help demonstrate what engineering is. And there are, real time or project-based pictures, live photos embedded in the deck as well, but again, laced in with these colorful imagery as well. These screenshots are actually from a video that I really like. It's from, you can see at the bottom there, Domain of Science, the Map of Engineering. It's a great video. If you ever want to find that, share that with students as well. It's another great resource, but some screenshots from that are embedded here. And then for the middle and high school students, it's a little darker tone, a little more mature look. So don't be surprised if you're kind of if you sign up for a classroom that's elementary and high school, you have different resources available to you and they look slightly different, but the message is still the same. What is engineering, why it's important for the world, how it impacts our day-to-day communities, etc. In the older student deck, we do embed a little bit more data. So this is a template slide that you'll see some labor statistics information. We do highlight some recommended high school classes that they take and just general information they need as a high schooler if they want to succeed as a civil engineer. We highlight the education and career paths and the importance of the FE and the PE exams and getting licensed. So these are all things that are embedded, and we would hope that you keep as you build out these decks. And again, just, the importance of getting an internship and, by the way, we have scholarships. So the message will be slightly different for each audience, and you'll see that play out in each of the materials. Bottom line though, these are all customizable. Okay, so they are templates for a reason. We would love for you to, as Ken said earlier, personalize these with your own project photos. If you if you're a bridge engineer and you want to focus just on bridges, that's completely fine. You can take out other content and make more space for content that resonates best with you and you're most comfortable talking about. Another thing I'll mention is that these templates and resources are built to assume you have maximum time available to you, right? So if you have a 35 slide deck, but you have 30 minutes, you're going to have to trim some down, and that's okay. We know that. We built these decks with the hope that you have as much time as you could possibly want, but some of these teacher classrooms are, a tighter time frame, and we know that. So please feel like you have the freedom to download the first and then adjust them and work with them to best fit your needs and to fit the needs of the teacher and the class that you're visiting. We've talked about this already, but some of the classrooms are, a third grade class, and they may have never met an engineer before. Some of these classes are high school engineering classes, and they are very familiar with engineering, and they don't need, the same deep dive or the same information that another class might need. They may need something way more technical to keep them interested. So it is really on you as the volunteer to look at all the information available to you about that classroom and build the best experience possible for them. These templates are here as a canvas for you to use and for you to personalize to make it your own. And with that, I would encourage anyone to look at the notes section in each of the PowerPoint decks, because there's a lot of helpful information and narrative and tools embedded within that little bottom bar notes part of the PowerPoint template. So please leverage that as well. We want you to feel like you have all the resources and tools available to you and that you feel supported in this. So it sounds like make the whole deck yourself and customize it. You can, but you can also just use these as they're made, and that's completely fine too. But just make sure you know you have the freedom to add your own project photos and you know, add and take away things as, you know, as needed. The main thing being though that we want the message to be overall the same for all students, which is here's what engineering is, here's what civil engineering is if you're, you know, diving into engineering versus civil, and then you know, some of the education, especially for older students, the education path necessary to get there, that you need that 4-year education to be a licensed engineer versus if you're going into another occupation that doesn't require that 4-year degree, make that distinction for them. But also just the overall message that engineering is an occupation and this industry is an industry that helps the world be a better place. And so just make sure that no matter what you do, that that message is still there for all students. So we're kind of singing the same song there. You know, like I said, we can add and remove slides depending on your volunteer interest and also by audience level, and just make sure you make it appropriate, right? We got some feedback last year that, you know, maybe the middle school audience cares a little less about the salary potential charts that we have in there. So every year we add our salary benefit survey data to show what civil engineers are actively making on average and other occupations that align with the industry. So those charts are in there, but you'll notice that the middle and high school deck is one deck this time. So if you're going to a middle school class, especially a low middle school class, you know, you can feel free to take those out based on some feedback we got or keep them in. Again, they're entirely up to you and you get to choose. If you're using printed materials, especially if you're using the activity book for young students, because it's 22 pages, we would encourage you to ask your teacher to print that for you so you don't have to incur that cost. And we've actually asked the teacher up front if they're willing to do that for you. So that information is available in the Google Sheet. All you just have to do is scroll all the way to the right under the All Details tab, and there's a column, yes, no, or we can upload the activity book to the students' tablets or iPads. So that information is already available to you. So you can look at that and, you know, kind of figure out how you want to approach that, especially if you're going to elementary age classroom and you want to use the activity book. You know, we already know this teacher's temperament as to whether they can print that for you. So always consult the Google Sheet. There's a lot of information in there. And as Ken mentioned, hands-on activities are always great, always encouraged. Not all these classrooms allow for that. Sometimes you have 30 minutes and you don't always have time for hands-on, which is why we have templates and the decks and the activity book. So if you can bring in the popsicle sticks and the marshmallows and all of that, or you can bring in something more advanced, love it. That's wonderful. But you may not always have time for that, depending on where you're going. So again, you have the freedom to make it your own based on the time that you have. So I know we've got some activity in the chat. Shelby, thank you for checking that out. We'll get to everything. And if we don't, we'll have time at the end for Q&A as well. So I'll dive into the more logistical process now of how we actually go about signing up for our classroom visits. So we will do this through Sign Up Genius. If you have been a longstanding volunteer with EWeek, you'll know that we used to sign up through the Google Sheet, and we decided to walk away from that process a couple of years back. And so this is not the first time we've used Sign Up Genius, but you know, for those that are brand new, little preview for you. Because there's so many classes, and just to simplify things for everyone, we make 6 individual Sign Up Genius pages based on the NDOT district that those counties or those classrooms are in. So at the conclusion of the call today, we will drop in the chat for you 6 individual links for Sign Up Genius. So you can navigate to those individual regions and sign up for the, you know, go visit the area that, you know, aligns with you best. If you're in the Northeast region of the state, you're probably going to want to go to the Fort Wayne district and click on that and only see classrooms that are close to you. That said, you can go to any classroom you want. If you are Ben Beer and you love getting in the car and driving, feel free to sign up for any classroom you want to. There are a couple of virtual options as well. Not too many. I think we only had 7 this year. Most are in person. So look for those as well. But overall, just know that we've tried to simplify that and just kind of target your area. If you live in the West region, you're only going to West region area, that's fine. You got one place to go to look for classrooms that are in your area, but feel free to sign up for any as long as you're willing to travel to them. A little snapshot of what you can expect in terms of the demand for classroom visits. We have naturally Greenfield and Central Indiana is always our highest region, being Indianapolis Metro. So we have 65 classrooms for the Greenfield district. If we're keeping on that right side, we have 19 classrooms for the Fort Wayne district, which we are so thrilled by because I think we had 4 last year. So a lot of growth in that region, a lot of more activity, especially in Fort Wayne, the city. So really excited to see growth there. 19 in Seymour district. We have, just kind of going up, 35 classrooms available in the Vincennes district. 21 classrooms available for sign up in Crawfordsville and 47 in LaPorte district. So really excited to see the growth in a lot of those spaces. And of course, overall, because last year we had 178 classrooms and this year we exceed 200. So overall, really thrilled with the results there. We have not hit every county. It is our goal to do that eventually. It's hard. We outreach to teachers all throughout October, November, and December to encourage them to sign up for this. And I do a lot of behind the scenes emailing with them in late December to drive those numbers up. But ultimately, if a classroom that you want is already spoken for, or if you're in a certain county and there's no classrooms nearby you or close to you, sorry about that. We are trying our best to reach as many counties and as many schools as possible. So really appreciate your patience as we grow this program and just expand our reach with it. But we can always have you as the volunteer. If you have a personal connection to a teacher or a classroom or a school, you can always on your own reach out to them and ask to go visit them, right? You can do that without me involved. You can reach out to them and try to go visit their classroom under the banner of EWeek, and you can use our materials. Would love to see more of that. I have many volunteers already committed to doing that this year. Then they're not even in the portal because they didn't have to. They just went straight to the teacher and they signed up, picked a date and time, and did without me. So if that's of interest to you, let me know. The only thing I will need if you go that route is I'd love to know how many students are in the class, what grade level, and the date and time, obviously, when you're going to visit, but just the very basic information to include that into our impact report at the end of the program. So would love to see that our reach expanded as we continue to grow this program. And if you want to help with that, if you have a particular school you want to visit next year, this year, etc., just let me know, and happy to get you engaged and involved in the steps to do that. Okay, so first and foremost, it's our primary goal that all the classrooms have at least one person sign up for them. Last year, we made kind of a pivot to having a primary volunteer seat and then a optional co-presenter seat. In past years, we had always tried very hard to pair up and have 2 for every single classroom. And while that's wonderful and we want that, bottom line is with 200 across the state, we just have to have them all covered. So the key is to have one primary for every classroom. So if you're an ACEC member on the call today and you want to sign up, I would encourage you to sign up in that primary slot, just so we have, keep that in membership. And you all get my emails and you'll be fully aware of that. If you're someone from one of our participating agencies, if you're within DOT or Citizens, you're also welcome to be a primary, absolutely. But you can also feel free to just jump on an optional co-presenter slot and wait for an ACEC member to be paired with you, whatever you're most comfortable with. Or if you're absolutely brand new to this and you have no idea what's going on and you just want to walk alongside somebody and co-present, you can sign up as an optional co-presenter too. So there'll be 2 buckets when you get into Sign Up Genius, and I'll show you a screenshot of that in a moment, just kind of showing the difference of the 2 roles. We have so many volunteers this year. I'm so thrilled to see so many of you on the call today, but also we had over 200 registered, which is wonderful. So would love to have everyone on the call sign up for one classroom to make sure everybody that's here has an opportunity to sign up for something. You'll notice if you've been active in the Google Sheet, some classes are spoken for already. There's a number of reasons for that. One being that the teacher from a previous year had requested that their volunteer return to them. So I always honor those asks. Another is, a volunteer has a family relative in that classroom that they're visiting, or their teacher is their sister or their, mother-in-law or something. I always honor those as well. So if you have a personal connection to someone, those are few and far between usually, but I honor those as well. And then members of our K-12 education committee have already kind of signed up for their classrooms as well. So that's why some of them are already claimed. You'll notice that as soon as you get into Sign Up Genius, some are taken, and that's why. Those are the scenarios in which we would have early access to that. I mentioned the distinct volunteer roles. This is exactly what it'll look like in Sign Up Genius. That primary is the one that will be responsible for communicating with the teacher. I'm going to be on you to have the deadlines met. Have you checked your checklist? Do you have everything submitted? That's the primary person I'm going to be emailing going forward to make sure that everything's caught up and you've done everything for EWeek. That optional co-presenter is not required. It can stay empty and you can go by yourself, or if you want to work alongside someone, you can either sign up with them. Let's say it's the case of Willie and Jeremy and that right side example. This is from last year, but Willie got signed up for Pike High School, and he went ahead and signed up for that co-presenter slot, and he added Jeremy in there. So you can do that as well, or wait for someone else to sign up too. It's pretty flexible in how it works, but we have the two distinct buttons there to make sure that you go and sign up on your own, or if you're in the case of like Willie, Jeremy, Willie can click both of those buttons and sign up for both. So flexibility there in how you sign up. Okay. I mentioned the primary volunteer is the one responsible for communicating with the teacher. That needs to be done by Friday, January 31st, which is less than 2 weeks from now. And it's really important that we do it because I've been talking to these teachers since October. I've been emailing with them throughout Christmas break and early January. They are excited to hear from you. So as soon as you can, as soon as you feel locked into your classroom, you know where you're going and you know the email of the teacher, reach out to them as soon as you can, but please no later than Friday, January 31st, to make sure that they know you're coming and they feel prepared and you have all the time you need to tie up any loose ends before you visit. Because we are going into K-12 classrooms, a lot of them require a background check. Okay, so that's one of the things we have already asked for in the Google Sheet. You'll see an all details tab. You'll be able to scroll over and there's a whole column dedicated to, do I need to fill out a background check? And every teacher has filled in something unique for that process. Some of them have put in a link to go to the background check and do it. Some of them have said, just bring your ID. We'll do it in real time. They can do that, or it's not required. Always look at that information and know what you're walking into and just to be prepared. But also some of them can take a couple weeks to process. So if that's something that's needed for your classroom, it's important to get on that as soon as possible. And of course, as you're doing this, your goals are to contact your teacher, make sure you have any tied up loose ends. If you have to do background check and get prepared for that, you have the time necessary to do so. And then over the next month, you have the time to download all the templates and materials and work with them and get them customized to your liking. So that's really what you're doing over the next month, is talking to your teacher, getting your slides ready, and making sure that that date and time is secure on your calendar so you can get to that classroom. Some common things that you'll find on that Google Sheet: parking and arrival information. We have a whole column dedicated to that information. Teachers already given that to us. Background check requirements, again, teachers already told us if that's something that you're going to need. We already know if materials can be printed by that teacher. So it's a yes, no, or we'll upload them for you electronically. We know that information already. We also know if you're allowed to take photos of students and put them out into the ether. We would love for you to take photos or have the teacher take a photo of you as you are presenting. If you're not allowed to take photos with students, you are certainly encouraged to have the teacher take a photo of you so we can have you share that on your personal or your firm LinkedIn profile or other social media, just to kind of share excitement about EWeek and get that out there. So always check and make sure that that photo releases information is already available to you. So check that out and make sure you're not taking any photos of students if you're not supposed to. Most of them, it's a yes, but just to be sure. Some things that you'll need to ask your teacher about, some things we don't always have all the details to, or things change, or life happens and now there's construction and, something may have impacted the school. So always confirm presentation timing, the content of the class. Especially if you're walking into an engineering class, like what are they learning over the next couple of weeks? So I can, react to that. Make sure that you have some sort of guidance from the teacher if they want an activity and if they have the time allotted for you to do so, or if they expect you to just walk in and have traditional slides too. And also keep in mind there, I didn't mention this earlier, but if you're walking into a 30-minute classroom and you, especially with very, very young kids, you may not want to use any slides at all. You just may want to go in there with some project photos up on a screen and just show them some photos of bridges or a water treatment facility, whatever you want to do. Again, talk with the teacher and kind of get a pulse from them on what's going to resonate best with the students. If they say, yeah, a 30 slide PowerPoint isn't going to hit the mark with these kids. If you just walk in and sit down and talk to them, that's gonna be better. And that's completely fine too. So just work with the teacher on that type of thing, that they'll be able to tell you exactly what to do. And also if you are bringing in any sort of, PowerPoint decks or you're doing the activity on the screen or whatever, double check and make sure you have the technology and AV available to you that you're going to need. At the conclusion of EWeek, you'll get a certificate like this one, that you'll get 1 PDH credit for volunteering as a part of EWeek activities. We're happy to provide that and give that to you. So you'll get a certificate just like this one with the new dates on it. And we'll have you fill that in, and, when it's time to upload for continuing ed, make sure you keep this and, have this for your records. But we are pleased to award a PDH for your support of EWeek. Some reminders as we get closer to the conclusion of our orientation today. All signups are first come, first serve. So then moving to a Sign Up Genius platform has helped mitigate some of that. We did in previous years, things get deleted or moved or anything. So in Sign Up Genius, it's pretty locked in once you sign up. So first come, first serve for those classrooms. Again, make sure you reference that Google Sheet and just make sure you're fully aware of the classroom that you're visiting. Make sure you're signing up by Friday, January 31st, or contacting your teacher by Friday 31st. And we'll start to open those signups here in just a moment, but I will stay on the call here to make sure you have any questions. One, I put this slide last for a reason, so it's very front and center for everyone. A limitation I have with Sign Up Genius is that it defaults to Eastern time, no matter what. So I took some time over the last couple of weeks to look at especially the Northwest and Southwest region, which is LaPorte and Vincennes and dot districts, because those are split on Central and Eastern time. So if there are classrooms on those two districts on Sign Up Genius, they are all listed in Eastern time, which may conflict with what's in the Google Sheet. Okay, so just know that as you are looking at Sign Up Genius, you're looking at everything in Eastern time, and if you know that's an Evansville-based classroom, then you got to convert that back to Central time. Okay, and it's going to list the correct information in the Google Sheet. It's the only thing I dislike about Sign Up Genius. Everything else seems to work great, but for this one thing, just please be mindful if you're in those two regions that everything you see in Sign Up Genius is listed in Eastern time, and those classrooms, some of those are intended for Central. So just be aware of that. They are noted by a little asterisk if you have to do that. So just kind of be aware of that as you're signing up. All right. With that, I will, in an orderly manner, hopefully, if anybody does have questions that haven't been answered in the chat already, again, Shelby, thank you so much for helping with that process. You can come off mute and ask me for the betterment of the group, or if you want to wait, you can email me after, or Shelby, either one. I'll just kind of pause here and give everybody a chance to ask questions if there are any. Before we move on to the sign up process.
Liz, this is Mark Voss. I'm traveling.
Hey, Mark.
I may have missed this portion,
Okay.
but if there's cancellations or delays or anything, should we go in the next day, or is there any type of rescheduling?
So for that, good question, especially given that it's February and weather and we've had crazy amounts of snow. for that, I would work directly with the teacher, right? If you have, hopefully they'd inform you the day of or the day before. You may just want to stay in communication if snow is anticipated. I would have you, and this is on your shoulders, right? It's a lot to hold on your shoulders, but would encourage you as the volunteer to navigate that directly with the teacher. Would love to still have you still visit those students and get to that classroom if possible. It doesn't have to be during EWeek. If it's the following week or if it's, later in the month, that's completely fine with me. It would love to still have you try your best to still run down that opportunity and talk to those students. But if it's fully canceled, just can't do anything about that. We'll just try better next year or hope the weather cooperates next year. But I would encourage you, if you have the time and capability, to work with that teacher to try to find a reschedule, because would love to still say we went to that classroom and spoke to those students. Good question. Anyone else?
Liz, this is Kumar from Indot. I think the sign up sheet earlier, you sent a link. There are already people who have signed up.
Mhm.
And when I try to sign up, it says that it was view only. You require permission. So now whatever we are left, right?
Yes. So yes, the Google Sheet is view only. Those have all been input directly by me. In those cases, those are folks that either those volunteers were requested by the teacher, or they had a previous connection or some reason to pair them up early with that teacher. But yeah, those classrooms are spoken for, and they're spoken for in Sign Up Genius. They're not available to sign up for. So I've been trying to do that on the back end to make that clear for you guys. But yes, you'll just go through the Sign Up Genius and sign up that way. I just wanted to hopefully get the info out there early that, some of those classrooms were spoken for because those teachers asked for those volunteers to come back to them. So, but yes, that's the Google Sheet. You can't edit it. It's by design. So I would encourage you to look at what's left and visit Sign Up Genius and click on the buttons there to sign up. Good question.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Hey Liz, Greg Ilka with Crossroad. I'm already scheduled for Franklin Central High School, which is not on the sheet.
Yep.
And actually, I'm doing the presentation a week before EWeek.
Okay.
One, I am trying to get them in touch with you guys so that they can take advantage of ACEC's EWeek.
Yeah.
But are there PDH availabilities, even though I'm not within a school that's listed?
Yes. Yes. We'll do that.
So just contact you or Shelby
Yep.
and okay.
Yep. You can
Awesome.
contact me.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Good question.
And then it
Anyone
looks
else?
like Ed has a question.
Yeah, go for it,
Go
Ed.
ahead, Ed.
Floor is yours, Ed. Garrison. Maybe.
Okay, well, he's
Unmute,
thinking,
Ed.
you got it, okay, good. Go ahead, Ed.
He changed his mind. It's okay. Well, we'll give him some grace and move on. If there's any other questions from anyone else?
So there's a good question in the chat. I'm not sure if everyone's able to see the chat, but there was a question that if a teacher has multiple classes on one day, how would we handle that? So that's a really great question. We've learned in years past that we do recommend that if they are back to back, so like an 8:30 to 9 and a 9 to 9:30, that it's really easy if the same volunteer just goes ahead and signs up for that. That's kind of a unique situation, and it's easier for the teacher to coordinate with volunteers. If you have 4 different volunteers coming in a 1 hour time frame, that's a lot to kind of shuffle around. So we recommend considering to sign up for those 2 spots. Definitely makes it easier on the teacher. If they have multiple, in one day, but they have 1 in the morning, maybe 1 in the afternoon, it would be okay if there would be different volunteers. So that was a really good question. I'm glad that was brought up. But I just wanted to highlight that because there might be some more those situations when you get into the Sign Up Genius.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Especially for that 30-minute, that tighter time frame. Definitely easier for the same person to just cover both of those classes. If you're thinking, you got an hour, you may not be able to commit to 2 hours back to back. It's totally fine. We are fortunate to have so many of you on the call today. Don't feel pressure to sign up for 4 classrooms. I know in previous years, we kind of had that scare, and I feel like we're kind of out of the woods with that. I feel like we have a lot of support this year and a lot of people willing to help, and which is so great. So, you know, if you're a many year EWeek volunteer, shake off a few of those worries, because we got lots of help on the call today. Sign up for 1 class and, you know, revisit if we need to, and there will be some classrooms we got to cover, you know, over the next week. We'll be monitoring that closely, but you know, like Shelby said, if it's that 30 minutes back-to-back classes, you know, feel free to grab both of them, no problem. But if we, you know, if you're looking at a full hour, you know, a little break in between, you don't feel the pressure to grab them both, because, you know, we got plenty of help. So great question. Anyone else? One more question and then we'll move on.
Liz, can you hear me now?
I can. Hi, Ed.
All right. Technology, my favorite. Anyway, this is more just, I guess, inspirational thought process, especially for those that have not done this before. Last year was my first time doing it. Didn't know what to expect or what to go in. What I found comforting and to be the best way to do it is just find a way to relate to the kids there. There's going to be kids that could care less if you're there or not. They're just there because they were told to. But there's going to be a few of them that want to learn and want to know. And I think if you can figure out how to put yourself in their shoes when you were there and what you were thinking and how you got to where you are now from that point, it's going to go a long way to relate to them. So if you can relate to them, you're going to win them.
Absolutely. That's such good words of wisdom, Ed. I mean, it's funny. I remember when we did this, Ed serves on our higher education and workforce committee. Thanks, Ed, for your service there. You know, one of the icebreaker questions that we did in that committee, as well as K-12 committee, was how did you become an engineer? Why did you become an engineer? What was that process for you? And so many of our members around the table said, I heard an engineer in a classroom, and it made me want to become an engineer. This very activity, this very thing you're all going to go do for these students is how so many of you became an engineer yourself. So it's so important that we get this right, and that we, you know, find a way to tap into what's going to inspire those kids. And you know, it's the feedback from teachers is always amazing. That, you know, you'll have varying levels of engagement. Kids are kids, right? Some classrooms are going to be rowdy and some are going to be very attentive, and most are going to be somewhere in the middle. So you know, you kind of dig in and find what's gonna ground them. And maybe, you know, if you get 3 slides in and it's off the rails, abandon those slides and just have a conversation, have a discussion. You know, feel free to own it and make that experience the best it can be for those students, because, you know, this is big. This is what inspires students to take that first initial look at engineering as a potential career for them. So love those words of wisdom, Ed. Really appreciate that. Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Shelby, I think we're queued up to grab those Sign Up Genius links and get started. So check the comments here. We're going to start dropping those. There they go. Now this is where you disappear and do your own thing. Get on Sign Up Genius and find the classroom that suits you best and sign up for it. In a few moments, I'll also send all the links combined together in one email to everyone on this call over email. So look for that as well. If you're traveling, driving, whatever, you'll have this in email form in just a moment. So feel free to start signing up. I will remain on the call here for a couple of extra minutes just to make sure that, you know, everybody's got a chance to ask me questions. You can come off mute. I'm here for you. But I'll leave you with this slide, because, you know, we have continued to share this message across all of our outreach efforts, especially with our younger audience, that being an engineer is about changing the world. It's not about, we're trying to make it more than math. It's more than all of it. It's about making the world a better place and leaving your mark on and making the world better. So this is the concluding slide for all of our EWeek presentations, and I encourage you to keep it in there, because you know, having a student see that this is my way to make the world a better place, and which is so important for younger students today with this generation of kids, is how do I make this world better, and how do I make it better than I left it. So you know, we'll just encourage you to carry that message forward. This is kind of our way of how we want to speak to students about engineering. We know it resonates best based on Discover E data. This is how we're moving forward. So with that, start signing up. My email, I'm getting pinged over and over again with Sign Up Genius confirmations. Thank you guys for signing up so quick. Love that. I will remain on the call for everyone. If you have questions, come off mute, let me know. Otherwise, that does conclude our orientation today. Like I said, we'll get that email out the door to you, but just love the engagement today. Love to see all of you here, and we can't wait for EWeek. So look for more information from me via email, and we'll get you going here over the next week. We'll get you paired up with a teacher. Thank you so much. And with that, I'll pause recording and hang on the line for anybody that has questions.